Let's turn to page 2 of Form 1. This page of the form is where we would record the Wisconsin standard deduction, Wisconsin personal and dependency exemptions, and Wisconsin credits. On line 15, to determine the standard deduction, you will need to refer to the standard deduction table on page 45 of your instructions. When you look at that table, please note that your Wisconsin standard deduction is based on your filing status. That's similar to the federal standard deduction. However, for Wisconsin, the standard deduction is also based on your Wisconsin income. The exemptions on line 17 come from your federal tax return, and you're given $700 per exemption with an additional amount if the taxpayer or spouse are older than 65. Skipping ahead to line 20, if you itemize your deductions for federal purposes, you would want to complete Schedule 1 located on page 4 of your Wisconsin Form 1. When you complete this form, you may have an itemized deduction credit that would be recorded on this line. If you did not itemize, you do not need to complete this form. Line 22 is a school property tax credit, which was not a credit given to you on your federal tax return. The credit is available to anyone who rents or pays property taxes on a home. Make sure you use the appropriate table depending on if you paid rent, or if your rent included heat or did not include heat, or if you paid property taxes. Line 24 is another credit which was not available on your federal return. To calculate this credit, use the Working Families worksheet in your instructions. The next line we'll look at is line 30. If the return is for a married couple and both work, they can receive a married couple credit. This calculation is done on page 4 of the Form 1. Once you calculate the amount, transfer that amount to this line. Let's now skip down to line 36. If you had any out-of-state purchases and were not charged sales and use tax, you must report the Wisconsin sales and use tax on any of these purchases on this line. An example of this would be if you went to Minnesota and bought clothing. Minnesota doesn't charge sales tax on clothing. Since you are a Wisconsin resident, you must record the sales tax you would have paid on the clothing if you had bought it in Wisconsin. The current sales tax rate is 5.5%. Therefore, if you had bought $100 of clothing in Minnesota, you would need to record on this line $5.50, calculated by taking the $100 times 5.5%. This is true for any online purchases you might also have made during the year for which sales tax was not charged. Line 38 is where you can indicate if you'd like to make some donations to the listed organizations. By making a donation, it will not change your refund or your amount due. For the rest of the lines I did not discuss on this page, please look in your instructions for more detail.